And I was very honoured to have a conversation with our CEO, Margie Upper, and our CMO, Dr. Pete Watson, where they shared some of their insights about their own leadership journey, but more importantly, leadership here at Counties Manukau Health and the importance of communication. So today I'm joined by two other amazing leaders in Counties Manukau, and I'm really pleased that you are both here, and I'm looking forward to having another conversation again. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you all, and while you're listening to this conversation, don't forget, if you have any questions at all, send them through, and as we get closer to the end of our discussion, I'll ask some of those questions. So let me turn to our guests today, and I'll start with you, Rochelle. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and it doesn't need to be about working here at Counties. It can be just a personal story.
Sounds good. So my name's Rochelle Bastian. I've been with Counties Manukau Health for 8 years now, and I started off in the primary care team. So I used to work in primary care with a large Auckland PHO, joined Counties, saw a great opportunity to work with quite a small team back then. It's changed significantly, and had the privilege of working on some national health targets initially. So I've been here just over 8 years, and recently I have taken a secondment into the child, youth and maternity team. And it's been a real privilege to work in the child health portfolio, particularly on well child services and also with a prototype, Startwell.
Great. Okay.
And I grew up in Rotorua, for anybody who grew up around the Bay of Plenty, which I love. That's my hometown, and that's where I spend a lot of weekends.
Yeah. Nice. So it's a beautiful part of the country. Yes. One of my first boyfriends was from
Rotorua.
Oh, there
we go. Excellent.
He's a strapping Te Aroha man. Sally, what about yourself?
Thank you. So my name's Sally North. I've been part of Counties for 19 years. In fact, I did my graduated into Counties, and apart from one small break in the middle of it, have been here the entire time. I grew up in Auckland, so born and bred here. I have a lovely family with two boys, my husband. We all live and work and have been raised here. My husband was raised here as well. We live out in Beachland, so lovely coastal property. In my role, I've been in this current role for just over 2 years. I took it on initially as an acting position, stepping up from a clinical specialty nurse. So I work in the recovery department, which is within theatre. I have a team of 50 staff, and together we care for patients as they come through theatre, go through their recovery phase, and then out onto the wards.
Right. So before we get down into a little bit more detail about the roles, and you've shared some of that insight, Sally, thank you. How has lockdown been for yourself and your own whānau, and then coming out of level 4 into alert 2? How's it been?
So I've continued to work right through, so that in itself had some challenges with the children being at home. My children, one is in college and one is in intermediate, so luckily quite self-sufficient. And my husband was able to do some work from home, but work close by as well. We also have the privilege of having my mother-in-law live with us, so we had that additional support around as well. But trying to manage the children being at home every day and their mum not being there was a challenge in itself. But knowing that I could safely come to work and support my team through all the education, planning and preparing that needed to be done was very important for me to be able to do that as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. And what about you, Rochelle? You and your family?
So similar, I've worked through, and I've been very fortunate. My husband's been at home with my 3-year-old and my 6-year-old. She turned 6 this morning, so that was exciting. Originally, I was seconded out into the Takanini CBAC, and that was a really exciting experience in terms of working with a small team to set up the CBAC, get going. I think we knew about it on the Wednesday, organised a large training on Friday, and then we got going. So it happened very academically, but also I guess working with a large number of people who work in a very agile way, and it was really inspiring people's ability to work collaboratively, work together, and do whatever needed to be done. So that was a great experience. Did that for about 3 weeks, I think, setting that up, and then was asked to come back and act as the General Manager for Primary Care. So I've been supporting the Primary Care team who are based here and getting to know all of the different work in primary care again, which has been really exciting. I've really enjoyed the experience about refugee services, emergency queue, access to diagnostics, and lots of different innovative pieces of work. So that's
great opportunity.
A great opportunity, very exciting.
Yeah. So I asked the question of both Margie and Pete. Who do they admire as a leader, or someone that they've aspired to, or been a bit of a role model for them on their own journey? So I'll ask you both that same question.
For me, professionally, I think that I've been inspired with how our PM, similar to with what Pete and Margie were saying, how she has managed in the wake of COVID-19, but also coming off Whakaari White Island, huge impacts to counties in particular in response to treating the patients from Whakaari White Island. But in her response is just, she has been willingly able to show empathy and compassion to the whole nation, and I think that that's something huge to aspire to as a leader. Personally, I always feel that my mum has installed the importance of great resilience in her children. She worked through as a nurse as well, and with that demonstrated great values that she then passed on to myself and my siblings. So I always look up to her as a great leader as well.
What about you, Rochelle?
I think during my career I've been able to work with some incredible GPs and practice nurses. So professionally, particularly Dr. Janine Bycroft, she isn't based here, but she works mostly across Auckland, but she's got a real passion for community, and particularly for people with long-term conditions, and also really population-focused prevention and supporting people with long-term conditions to make the take back control and that whole self-management support, health literacy. So the work she's done is she's shown a huge perseverance, I think, with what she's wanted to do with setting up a trust in Health Navigator, health literacy, working with Susan Reid, and enabling, I guess, the people of New Zealand to access timely and accurate health information to support them living well at home. So she's, and also her values, her kindness, you know, she really does embody those values about working together, valuing everyone, and kindness. So she's, you know, very strongly that comes across with her work. Yeah.
That's great to hear that. I'll come to your roles, and you both have touched on your roles a little bit now. So what attracted you to Counties Manukau Health? I mean, there are 19 other DHBs. We've got a couple in our region. What was it about Counties?
So I did all my training that led me to Counties. I did all of my placements as a student nurse here at Counties, and I think that when you are embraced with the values of Counties, you want to be a part of that. And we have quite a special catchment of, you know, population, and they have their own collection of challenges that I think are really important for us to work through as health professionals. Along with that, we have such very strong values here at Counties that you've already alluded to as well, but I think that they're really important to install into everything that we do when we come to work as a leader in this environment. And for myself, I find it very important that I display the values to the people that I work alongside and support that as part of the expectations when we come to work. Yeah.
Okay.
Similar, I think. So really what attracted me was the organisation's reputation for being innovative, for being a leader, and in terms of the the work that was done and the ability to really make a change and make a difference. So it's an organisation that really does empower people, it empowers leaders, it empowers the staff and enables people to really step up and make the most of opportunities about areas where people do want to make a difference, change, they see an issue, see a problem, a challenge, and moving forward into working with a team of expert people to really get out there and give it a go and not be too worried about what happens, but in a way that's empowering rather than blame or driven by I guess any anxiety around what might happen. So yeah.
So very similar to me, I came to Counties Manukau Health for the values, the leadership, the population that we serve. So I've never worked in the health system before, and I've been here at Counties now for just on almost 18 months. So unlike you two, I consider myself to be very new. What do you think are some of the main challenges as a leader? Some of the challenges that you've encountered?
So for me, I think that stepping up into a leadership role, one of the biggest challenges was working out how best to display the values that I believe in and encourage the people that I work with to display those as well. And I think a lot of that has come through with recruiting for values and ensuring that that's forefront when you're going through that process. Challenges around having those difficult conversations and having I think the difficult conversations is certainly something that I've had to work on, remaining empathetic to the needs of those that you're having the conversations with and showing those values strongly. Okay.
So I think yes, agree, absolutely. Those are some really strong challenges in terms of trying to, understand a team, how different people work, communication styles. That's always been fascinating to me around different communication styles. So I think there's been an opportunity to get to know people in quite a different way and to also be able to spend time mentoring and supporting people to make the most of their ability to move in a direction that personally interests them. So that mentoring, one-on-one time has been a real privilege, and I've really enjoyed it, but also a challenge.
Yeah. So in any career, and I've experienced this myself, when you're in a leadership role, there will often be certain pressures that you are put under and stress. How do you maintain that balance, and how do you manage that in your leadership role? What do you do, Michelle?
I'm very organised, so I do find that helps, being quite structured and organised for me personally, but also home life is really important, and being able to go home and spend time with my children and husband, and we spend a lot of time outdoors on the weekends and the evenings when we can, and that's just that fresh air. It's the basics really, but just being able to get out for a walk or bike ride with the family, go to a beach. We've got some lovely local parks, recreation centres, fabulous Auckland walks that we've really got into recently. So it just helps being able to take that time out as a family.
Yeah, I tend to echo your thoughts there, Rochelle. I think it's really important to be able to kind of separate that work a little bit and making sure that you are heading home and having that downtime to recenter yourself. Spending time with the family, of course, and also just doing things that you can enjoy, those mindful moments, taking a breath in and just really making sure that you have those opportunities to rest so that you come back the next day or the beginning of the week ready to start again. Trying to kind of distinguish a little bit of what can I do right now and what can I put off for another day or delegate on to somebody else. And I think that shows value in your team as well if you can hand tasks over to try and reduce some of that stress and load on yourself. Yeah.
Some great points there around being mindful, valuing your team, taking time out for yourself and your whānau. So that's really important, that having that balance. I've got a 21-year-old, and just thinking about if you were 20 now, 21, what would you tell yourself? I'll share mine first. I remember being asked this question probably a couple of months ago, and I said, be more patient, have a bit more fun, because I was so into my studies at that time, and also don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yes. Absolutely. I think that's really good advice. Don't be concerned about making too many mistakes, because I think at that age, well, some of us, it can be really limiting. So I think it's about taking those opportunities, taking that leap of faith, doing something outside your comfort zone is really important, and just really challenging yourself to do something that does take you outside of your comfort zone and move forward. Yeah.
I think that I was quite fortunate before I went into doing my studies, because I was finishing off my nursing study when I would have been 21. I took time out between school and starting to study and travelled some of the world. And I think that really helped to build my own personal resilience and learn a bit about who I was, and gave me some strength to go out there and try new things. And I think that had I not have done that, perhaps that would have pushed me into doing my nursing a lot younger, and it would have been, I think, a bit more challenging to then have confidence in myself. So for me to look back at what I would be like if I was 20 again, it would just be ensuring that yes, you can make mistakes, try different things, and really go for where your passion is. Don't be kind of led into, well, this is a quick solution or something to kind of achieve right now. Look at where your passion is and really go for that.
Nice. So all you 21-year-olds out there working for Counties Manukau Health, take on board this great advice. Where do you see yourselves, say, in 5-10 years? Do you have a plan?
I do have a plan. I'd like to think I'd still be working in health. I feel huge loyalty, I guess, to health and to the well-being of people, and I'd like to see if there are opportunities to work more closely with the community. At the moment, my role doesn't involve much contact with actual patients or people. And so I'd like to be able to work, I guess, in a place where there is that opportunity to work a little bit closely with, changing or interacting with people to change systems. And also, we did do a piece of co-design work in the primary care team recently, which was incredibly rewarding in terms of being able to sit down and work with small groups of people and really listen and understand people's perspectives. And I really enjoyed that. It was a great opportunity, and I ended up at a Pacific church with a small group of young people, and I just really enjoyed talking to the teenagers of that church, what their experiences were of health and how it's so interrelated with family and growing up, and it was a huge privilege.
What about you, Sally?
Yes, well, I've sort of just settled into my role at the moment, so I've kind of accepted challenges along the way with stepping up into senior roles, and along with that I've also completed my master's degree, so I'm quite happy to just settle in and strengthen the role that I'm in for now. 10 years time, I'm not quite sure, to be honest, and I think that that's okay to not have a hugely long-term plan. But I certainly am enjoying where I am right now, and I can see myself staying in this leadership role.
Okay. Look, we've got a couple of questions, so I'm going to very quickly get a response from you both. What's your biggest learning as a leader that you would pass on to the next generation of leaders?
That's a good one. Biggest learning. I think for me it is really about supporting the people around you and supporting your team and mentoring and And also leading by example is really important. You can't expect people in your team to do something and to work in a way that you wouldn't do yourself. So for me it's really about embodying the values and the way you expect people to behave.
Very well said. And I think also about it's okay to show when things might not be going quite the way that you had hoped, and to be honest about that. So I think a really important aspect of leadership is being open and honest and explaining to your team, hey look, this didn't quite work how we thought it might. Let's put our heads together and think of an alternative way. And I always kind of say to myself and to my team that one mind might come up with something, but a whole lot of minds together can only come up with something even greater, and let's put all those minds together to try and improve what we're doing right now.
Okay, great. One more question. As leaders, do you feel you're given the opportunity to shape the direction of our organisation? How can we get better at that?
Very good question.
It is. Well, I think in Counties we are good at actually having opportunities to participate in various forums to reshape values, strategic direction. So there are a large number of forums where often if you ask or an opportunity might be offered, and it's making the most of the opportunity that you do see in front of you to step up or step into a place where it is challenging. You may not know everything, but it is an opportunity. It's that taking a chance on actually sharing and learning from others and working as a larger team, really, a different team, but a larger team.
And I do think that there are a lot of opportunities out there for people to take on those seconded roles or acting roles. And although it might be very nerve-wracking to accept them to begin with, or you might not think you have the right skills or the right knowledge, if the opportunity is there, I really encourage taking that step and going for it, because then it puts you out into different groups and different leadership style, learning different leadership styles. And that all then will help shape how we all are as leaders working together.
Great points. That's wonderful, ladies. We've come to an end, but before I close off, I just wanted to acknowledge both Sally and Michelle for the great gems that they have shared with us today. And that last question was a pretty challenging question, but because I have responsibility for leading out the Healthy Together strategy refresh, we're going to be running, and we have run a couple of workshops. We've paused it through COVID, but we are restarting that again. So that's going to be an opportunity for both of you and others watching to please come along to watch this space and come along to some of the workshops that we've got planned. But nō reira, tēnei tini atu kia kōrua, ko taimai nei I tēnei wā, tēnā koutou, and we will see you all next time.